The difference BTW South Korea and Italy on COVID-19, illustrated. COVID-19 pandemic is hitting the world. In some countries, there have already been tremendous cases, and many people are dying. Anyhow, we all have to prepare for the long-term pandemic and learn how to deal with different countries' different ways of coping with the initial response and how to deal with it through the consequences, as similar situations can continue to occur. China has the most cases, but its policies are difficult for the majority of countries to follow, so I will exclude them for now. The two countries that are said to have similar economies of similar size and cultures are South Korea and Italy, which have made the biggest difference. There have already been several articles about how they were different, but I'd like to explain simply by drawing a diagram at this time. Inspired by a hand-drawn diagram in a community called Clan in South Korea titled Why Korea is Successful in Preventing Corona Pandemic. There is no way of contacting the writer, but I want to thank him/her for sketching and revealing it. The general pattern of epidemic spread. Infectious diseases are often said to spread with exponential characteristics, but they do not spread much for a considerable period of time. If you let your guard down at this point, you'll be able to open the gates of hell. The diagram below shows the pattern of exponential growth. Scenario 1, not enough test after the onset. This is the scenario of Italy and many other European countries so far. When the number of infections begins to rise, the government recognizes them and finds out infected cases. But if it's too late, the number of infected people is already out of control. Also, even if found several infected cases early, if the speed of finding the infected cases is too slow, it will be equally out of control. After a while, the number is so high that there are not enough diagnostic kits available, and there are not enough medical staff to diagnose and treat. In the end, the number of undetected infections grows bigger and bigger, and finally, everyone falls into panic. Italy found the infected cases too late, and the diagnostic test was too slow. The confirmed cases in Italy are now mainly people with clear symptoms. Therefore, the proportion of people who are seriously ill among the confirmed cases is higher, which leads to more deaths. Scenario 2, aggressive test to track real infection cases and quarantine. This is South Korea's case. If it's faster to detect infected cases, we can prevent them from transmitting other people and significantly slow down the spread. But it's not easy. The decision to prepare enough diagnostic kits and put them into practice should be also very quick. However, it is impossible to detect all infected cases even if this aggressive testing policy because COVID-19 infected cases are contagious even if their symptoms are mild or non-symptomatic. Thus, although there must be undetected cases, at least these efforts can be made to reduce the undetected case number to a minimum. In this case, not only do epidemiological investigations of high-risk groups who travel to dangerous areas or those who came into contact with the confirmed cases have various symptoms from severe cases to non-symptomatic cases. This reduces the number of severe case rate and the mortality rate among all confirmed cases. In other words, the high mortality rate means that we are missing that many people with no or mild symptoms, and the low mortality rate means finding those with no or mild symptoms well. Why this is so important? This is because if you find infected cases, you can find close contacts and isolate them quickly. Then, the spread of infection can be prevented by screening and isolating potential infected candidates who are not actually infected, even though there are side effects of being isolated without any symptoms. This is much better than lockdown and stay at home for the whole city. But, many cities already too late to choose this strategy only. One of the reasons why South Korea succeeded without the extreme prescription of lockdown in COVID-19 pandemic is that they created and prepared diagnostic kits quickly and changed the healthcare system to conduct inspections in preparation for disasters. But the more fundamental reason is that it made rational decision-making through transparent information without hiding and made open decision-making, and handled it flexibly by changing the dietary guidelines repeatedly in the middle. Perhaps every country has a different situation, but I think these principles will apply equally to all countries. Now that the whole world is connected, the pandemic is not a problem that only one country can solve. We should all join forces to do our best to overcome this difficult situation. I hope this article will help such efforts.